This is a reflection on the importance of lesson planning based on my observations of real-world classes and videos posted online. Effective unit and lesson planning begins with the big picture. Understanding the standards we need to achieve, the learning objectives associated with that standard, the content and activities needed to meet those objectives, and the time and other constraints imposed by the school year all contribute to the effective execution of day-to-day lessons. Backwards mapping is one way to make sure the teaching objectives are clearly aligned with the standards. In middle school science at my school, students are assessed on 4 criteria, with multiple strands within these criteria. Each criterion must be assessed twice within the school year. Using these standards, teachers can figure out which criteria would be best assessed within which content topics, and this kind of shapes the unit and the lesson planning for the whole year. Effective unit planning ensures that students develop the skills they need to meet the objectives, and ensures that the content is delivered in a meaningful order. It also allows teachers to create interesting learning activities rather than just chalk and talk. Team unit planning, including all the teachers in that subject for that grade level, can be used really effectively to share lesson ideas and past experiences to optimise this plan. Teaching strategies such as project-based learning and game-based learning require significant forward planning during this unit planning stage. The most effective science lessons I've observed were student-led and hands-on, either through experiments, demonstrations, or group work. Giving students the freedom to be creative in class, to lead their own investigations, and pursue deeper learning of topics they're interested in, seems to lead to effective learning in science. Although these classes are student-led, significant forward planning is required to guide these lessons to make sure the learning objectives are still met. For example, I observed a Year 9 science lab where students were dissecting a cow's heart. They came into the class, got into their safety equipment, got stuck into their work, and really enjoyed exploring and identifying the anatomical features of the heart. Students were fully engaged and excited, and the teacher barely said a word. However, in order for this class to be successful, the students had to know the lab safety procedures, understand the process of dissecting a heart, and they needed to be well prepared with the theory learnt in the previous lesson. This is only possible if the lesson is correctly placed within the unit plan and time is allocated to learn the procedures and the theory. It's pretty easy to recognise a well-planned lesson. First, the teacher has enough knowledge of the content to know what key questions might be asked, and to have examples and explanations ready. A well-planned lesson also includes well-thought-out and interesting activities and demonstrations to explain the content. For example, I observed an entertaining lesson in which the teacher made a balloon girlfriend for a student, which became attracted to him to demonstrate the principle of static electricity. The teacher had obviously tested this out and figured out the best position in the room to do it before the class. In addition, he had all the required equipment for those activities readily available. Having a relaxed attitude when something goes wrong, as it often does in science, also indicates good planning, as the teacher will have a backup plan in place. There should be just enough time to complete all the activities, with a bit of time for discussion and reflection. Importantly, in a well-planned lesson, the activities will align perfectly with the learning objectives for the unit. Another key element of the well-planned lesson is effective formative assessment. This allows the teacher to know if the lesson is working, if the students are actually learning, and if they need to make any changes to their plan. In my experience, any activity that requires 100% participation and that gives immediate feedback is an effective formative assessment. This could be a quiz using the Socrative program, or a full participation poll, such as a thumbs up, thumbs down question. These could be useful strategies to use. Also, observing the outcomes of activities in class, like a do now activity at the start of class, or an effective class discussion, including think, pair, share, or the visible outcomes of group work. These can all be formative assessment tools. I recently observed a 6th grade class on the classification of animals, where they designed their own aliens, and then, in groups, made a dichotomous key for their creatures. The visible outcome of this work, the dichotomous key made up of all the aliens, along with targeted student questioning, made it very clear to the teacher that the students understood the concept of the dichotomous key. The most ineffective formative assessment that I've seen is when the teacher just stands in front of the class and asks, "Do you understand?" Nobody wants to say no to that question. Getting students to show you rather than tell you if they do or don't understand seems to be the best approach. I think the planning process should also include a feedback loop. After giving a lesson or completing a unit, looking at student feedback and reflecting on what worked and what didn't, and recording these findings for future use can help effectively plan lessons in the future when you're doing the unit again. I'm just starting out learning how to plan units and lessons. I found that at the moment, using templates and stepping through the planning process really carefully is important for me as a new teacher to make sure that I hit all those objectives, to meet all those standards. Hopefully, over time, this process will become second nature, so I feel this is a vital skill to have if I want to ensure my students reach their learning goals.